It's never been more important to get out to vote because Darren Bailey and the Republicans want to take this state backward. Darren Bailey wants to end workers' rights in this state. He wants to end the state minimum wage. He founded a school that teaches students that slave masters were good to their slaves and teaches that women are inferior to men. That's just wrong. We're not going to let him anywhere near the governor's office, are we? In 2018, together, we crushed the terrible anti-worker Bruce Rauner by the largest margin against any incumbent governor in the history of the state of Illinois. And we're going to do it again to Darren Bailey tomorrow.
But guess what happens if you do vote? Guess what happens when you get out your house for free, right? Go to the ballot box and vote for free. You don't have to pay for it. And you vote every time. Guess what happens? Bing bong. Hey, I'm Maurice West. How are you? Good to see you. Bing bong. Hey, I'm Tom McNamara, running for mayor. How are you? Bing bong. Hey, I'm running for governor. How are you? All because of that dot. That's on that map. All because you voted.
Voting makes a difference because, yes, on paper, I have 108,000 bosses as a state representative. Yes, that includes people who vote for me, who may never vote for me, or who don't vote at all. When you become a voter, that's your way of calling for me to come to you. What I mean by that is to make sure we're successful in our campaigns. We have a list of where the voters are so we can knock on those doors. So I can knock on those doors, hear their story before I even ask for their vote, figure out what's important to them before I even ask for their vote. Let's make sure that their voice is heard before I even ask for their vote. But if you don't vote, I most likely won't see you because you're not on my list. I want to hear what you have to say, but I don't know where you're at. When you become a voter, your elected official that represents you, that is beholden to you, now knows where you're at.
Making sure that people understand the process is super important. Being registered, getting out there to the polls. A lot of people do get turned away because they aren't registered and they don't realize that how easy the process is to get registered. I'll say that it's particularly important with young people who haven't experienced this before, who may not have a family environment where voting is pushed as being super important. And they don't know what the process is, and it seems like maybe it's difficult.
But when you start voting, that's when you are going to be taken serious, especially from elected officials. That's when you start seeing money in your neighborhood from elected officials because everyone votes in that area. That's when you start seeing them coming to all your events, sponsoring your events. That's how you make sure your voice is heard. And from there, you build from that. Now you can talk about the issues that are important to you.
It can make a huge difference. And it's young people that we see that don't get to the polls. And then while they have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that they'd like to see with the world, and they're eligible to go out there and pick representatives that are going to follow through with that, they don't get to the polls. I think I saw a graphic that said that in one of the most recent elections in Rockford, there were a few thousand voters under the age of 30, while there were 10,000 voters over the age of 65. That's huge disparities where we see older voters who've been experienced, maybe got registered when they were younger, being out there and determining issues. But when we don't see young people out voting, they both aren't selecting candidates that are going to do things that they believe in, but more so, candidates aren't pushed as hard to follow through with the issues that are important to those younger voters.
The most important part about participating in local elections is the relationships that you can build with not only your community members, but the candidate. You can speak to that candidate directly without having to go through their staff. You can see the immediate impact that they could have on you and your community. Engaging with the candidate is the best part about local elections.
We need to do a better job in making sure people know that, yes, the presidential election is important, but the most important are our local elections. That's what you will see right in front of you, the impact on that election. Because there's not just the midterms, but the consolidated elections, the odd years when we're doing the local municipality to school boards. We need to make sure people understand how important the school board is, how important the mayoral election is, how important state, senate, state rep, in the gubernatorial elections, their impact is just as impactful as the presidential.
All by starting to vote. When you do that, you become dangerous, in a good way, dangerous to elected officials and candidates because they want your vote, and if they don't got it, they know they're gonna lose their seat. That's the power that you have if you utilize it.
The wrong people win. The wrong people lose. Low voter turnout catapults someone who initially thought they had no shot of winning.
You're not getting as good of representation of what the community actually believes. And there's a lot of reasons that people don't feel the need to get to the polls. But what I always look at is the fact that I think in the last election in Rockford that was just municipal, there was like 16% voter turnout. And people like to say, my vote couldn't make a difference. Well, if there's 16% turnout, if everybody came out to the polls, it can make a difference 4 times over. So it can make a difference.
But it puts me in a position where I gotta make sure I help get out the vote. I help remind people there's a vote. But because of low turnout, I need to make sure people know, hey, I still got a race, right? Hey, I still need you to come out and vote. The 67th district had the second most population loss in the state of Illinois. And so we had to expand into areas that I'm not privy to, not even as a state legislator, but just as a resident of Rockford. But now I have New Milford, Cherry Valley, and Loves Park. And low-key, I'm really excited about that because I get to expand outside of Rockford and see the intricacies of these other municipalities and how I can serve them. This year I did do it differently, how we campaigned. I did focus heavier on in the areas that I'm not known. I'm thankful for our media market here because the media market is the same in Rockford as it is in the other 3 municipalities. So if you saw me in Rockford, you saw me in Loves Park in the news for these past 4 years. But I wanted them to make sure they knew that they were valued, and so I made sure to knock a lot of doors in those 3 areas.
And so what we have today is the ability to vote. So that our kids and our grandkids someday are going to say, well, when the rights started getting taken away from you, what did you do? We voted. We voted for our rights. Because it's not just a woman's right to choose. It's workers' rights. It's healthcare rights. Voting rights. Who's going to vote for all those things? Realistically, I mean, that's what we've got ahead of us. If we don't make the right decisions, we have to make sure that we're making the right decisions that will benefit us together, not separate. We're going to get down and we're going to raise as much as we can because what that does is it allows us to communicate the message to the voter before they go and make that circle.
This is your civic duty. There's been people who try to use that against you in their favor. I lose, so it has to be fraud, more so than the fact that I'm just not the best candidate. Listen to what the State Board of Elections is saying, who's an independent body. Throughout the nation, you see Secretary of States running the elections. Here in Illinois, we put together an independent body, the State Board of Elections. There's no elected candidate here in Illinois that oversees the election. It's a State Board of Election. Sticking with people, young folks who want to be engaged, instead of blocking them and telling them you're too young. Those are the people that I feel like I need to stick close to. I don't know what our 18 to 24-year-olds are going through anymore because unfortunately that's 13 years ago. And figure out what we can do to get more people like you in your age bracket out.
What I did, rallied together youth 18 to 25 and just explained the importance of voting, and had State Representative Maurice West along with other elected officials and community leaders to just join in and expressing and sharing the importance of voting in hopes to reach a larger audience.
Voting is really important. And for us as young people, we don't come out to vote. Encourage young people to vote. A lot is at stake. Your future is in your hands. Let's go vote.